Hey everyone, and welcome back for another Dita Dive. You guys gave us a pretty unique challenge this time, figuring out how to learn English effectively, but like completely on your own time.
Definitely interesting. And luckily for us, we've got a great starting point. Mila Vibes has this super popular YouTube video, How to Learn English Alone at Home. 3 simple steps that actually work. So we'll be breaking that down.
Awesome. And before we jump in, let's quickly lay out our listeners' goal here. They want to be fluent and confident in English, but like without needing formal classes or, tutors, none of that.
Makes sense. And the coolest thing is that Mila actually gives us 3 simple steps that anyone can integrate into their daily routine. But here's the catch: the order you do them in. Super important.
Oh, I like where this is going. So let's dive into step one then. It's all about this listening immersion thing. Right. I gotta admit though, focusing on training your ear, like before actively speaking or writing, kind of counterintuitive, right?
It might seem that way at first, but think about it for a sec. We learn our native language by listening way before we can even form words. It's about absorbing all those sounds, the rhythms, the natural flow of the language.
Okay, yeah, that tracks. And Mila uses this analogy about ice cream to really drive the point home.
Oh yeah, one listen to something is like just getting a single scoop, you get a taste. But multiple listens to the same episode, that's like indulging in the whole pint.
Ha! I love that visual.
Right. Each time you re-listen, you pick up on something new. Maybe a subtle pronunciation difference or a cool turn of phrase. You even start noticing the speaker's tone more. It's like leveling up your listening comprehension.
Okay, so we're talking serious gains here, but isn't there also like some actual science behind this repetition thing?
Absolutely. Each time you hear that same episode, you're strengthening those neural pathways in your brain, making the connection stronger, more accessible. Basically, you're building up that mental muscle for English.
So it's not just like zoning out to a podcast. It's about actively like engaging with the material and letting it sink in.
You got it. And here's a pro tip. Choose podcasts in the specific accent you want to master. So say you're really into that crisp British accent. Listening to British podcasts consistently will attune your ear to all those subtle pronunciation differences, the vocabulary, even the rhythm and intonation. It's pretty cool.
Wouldn't that make it harder to understand other English speakers, though? Like if I'm only listening to British accents, will I struggle to understand someone from, say, America?
That's a great question. And while it's awesome to eventually expose yourself to a ton of different accents, starting with one builds a strong foundation. It's like building a house. You need that solid base before you can add all the fancy details.
Makes sense. So you're saying it's better to build confidence and fluency in stages rather than trying to tackle everything at once. Got you. So we've got listening covered preferably in a specific accent. But what about actually producing English? Where does speaking and writing fit into this solo learning thing?
That's where step 2 comes in. Writing becomes your personal practice space. And the best part, Mila encourages a super low-pressure approach. It's not about perfect grammar or writing like Shakespeare or anything. It's just about getting comfortable expressing yourself in English, even if it's just like jotting down random thoughts in your phone's notes app.
So it's basically a judgment-free zone for like playing around with the language.
Exactly. It has bridged the gap between thinking in your native language and then putting those thoughts into English. And don't underestimate consistency. Even a few sentences every day can make a huge difference.
I can definitely see how that would help make it more natural over time, but for someone just starting out staring at a blank page can be kind of terrifying. Any tips for getting past that initial hurdle?
For sure. Start small, focus on what you can do. Maybe just write a quick description of your day or translate a favorite song lyric. Even just making a grocery list in English counts. The goal is to make it a habit. Get those English gears turning and build up that confidence.
Love that. It's all about those small wins that keep you motivated. Okay, so we've tackled listening and writing, which means there's going to be one more piece to this solo learning puzzle, right?
You know it. Step 3 focuses on expanding your vocabulary through everyday reading. And I know what you're thinking. I already read in English all the time. But this is about being more mindful and intentional with your reading habits.
Okay, so how do we turn something we already do into like a targeted learning experience? I'm intrigued.
Just think about how much English you see every single day. Social media posts, news headlines, heck, even the instructions on your shampoo bottle. It's everywhere. Mila suggests some simple tweaks to make this exposure more intentional, like switching your phone's language settings to English. It's a small change, but it makes a big difference.
That's actually brilliant, like sneaking in extra practice without even realizing it. I'm definitely going to try that. But what about the stuff we're actually reading? Not all English material is created equal, right?
You're absolutely right. And that's where choosing the right content comes in. Remember, this is a marathon, not a sprint. Don't feel like you got to jump into Shakespeare or academic journals right away. Start with something you genuinely enjoy. and that matches your current English level. Maybe it's a blog about your favorite hobby or a graphic novel. Even just using English subtitles on your favorite TV show can help.
So it's about finding that sweet spot where learning is actually fun and engaging, not like a chore you're dreading.
Exactly. The goal is exposure. The more you read, the more words and phrases you're going to absorb. It naturally expands your vocabulary without even realizing it. And don't get hung up on understanding every single word. Context is king. You can usually figure out the meaning of a sentence, even if you don't recognize every word.
That takes a lot of pressure off. I always get intimidated when I see a paragraph full of words I don't know. But you're saying it's more about getting the general idea and letting those repeated exposures do their magic.
You got it. And as you keep reading, you'll find yourself understanding more and more without even needing a dictionary. It's like you're building up your mental vocabulary bank effortlessly.
Okay, so we've got our 3 key steps: listening, writing, and reading. Each one seems pretty manageable on its own, but how do we actually put them all together into a routine that we can stick with? It seems like a lot to juggle.
That's where we move from the what's to the how. It's all about turning these steps into habits. And the beauty is that it's about integrating English into your existing routine.
So instead of like blocking out hours for studying, it's about finding those little pockets of time throughout the day.
Exactly. Think about it. You probably already have those moments when you're doing something passive like commuting or cooking, even just taking a break. Why not turn those into mini English learning sessions?
I never thought about it like that. So it's more about making English learning a natural part of your life instead of this separate, scary thing.
Exactly. And the key is to make it work for you. Maybe you listen to a podcast while you walk the dog, or jot down thoughts in English while you drink your coffee, or even just read a few pages of a novel before bed.
So it's about making your English learning journey unique to you. It's about your individual lifestyle and preferences, not some rigid schedule.
Exactly. And remember, consistency is key. Even if you only have like 15 minutes a day, those small, consistent efforts add up over time. It's like those repeated podcast listens that solidify your understanding.
Okay, I'm really starting to see how all these pieces fit together. Small actions repeated consistently end up creating this huge snowball effect.
Awesome. I think that's a great place to pause for now. We've covered a ton of ground in this first part of our deep dive, but there's definitely more to explore.
Absolutely. We've laid the groundwork with Mila's 3 steps, but now it's time to dig deeper into all those nuances of solo English learning, maybe uncover some hidden gems and additional resources. Sounds good to me. So until next time, keep those English gears turning, and we'll be back with even more insights and actionable tips to help you reach fluency. See you soon.
See you soon. One thing that really stands out to me about this whole solo English learning thing is like how much emphasis there is on finding resources that actually work for you.
Oh, totally. It's so easy to get caught up in like the best language learning app or textbook. But if it doesn't actually interest you, you're probably going to give up on it pretty quickly.
Exactly. It's like trying to force yourself to eat broccoli when what you really want is a big slice of chocolate cake.
Okay, that's a perfect analogy. I love it. So how do we find that chocolate cake in the world of English learning resources? How do we know what's actually going to keep us coming back for more?
I think it starts with understanding yourself as a learner. Like, what are you naturally drawn to? What kind of content really grabs your attention? Are you a visual learner who loves watching documentaries? Maybe you're more of an auditory learner who thrives on podcasts and audiobooks. Or perhaps you learn best by actually doing things, engaging with the language through games and interactive exercises.
You know what I've definitely noticed? I'm a visual learner, for sure. I always gravitate towards resources with lots of visuals, graphics examples. Just listening to someone explain a grammar rule never really sticks for me, but if I can actually see it illustrated, then it clicks.
That's a great example. So if you're a visual learner, you might benefit from things like flashcards, mind maps, or even videos with subtitles. And then auditory learners might prefer podcasts, audiobooks, or even finding a language exchange partner so they can practice speaking and listening. And then there are those kinesthetic learners, the ones who learn best by actually doing things. They might enjoy interactive games, role-playing activities, or even real-world experiences where they can use English in practical situations.
So basically tailoring the whole learning experience to fit your own unique style. Makes sense. It's about finding those methods that feel natural and engaging.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to experiment a little. Try different approaches, explore different resources, and see what really works for you. What works for one person might not work for other. So it's all about finding that perfect fit.
That's so true. It takes the pressure off trying to find that one right way to learn and instead encourages you to explore and discover different things. I like that. And speaking of exploring and discovering, I think that spirit is super important for another aspect of solo English learning that we touched on earlier, cultural immersion.
Ah, yes. Language and culture are so intertwined. Learning English isn't just about memorizing grammar rules and vocab. It's about getting a deeper understanding of the people, the customs, and the perspectives that shape the language.
It's like learning to see the world through a whole new lens, expanding your own understanding and appreciation for other cultures.
Exactly. And that's why immersing yourself in English language media can be so beneficial, whether it's podcasts, movies, TV shows, even music. It's like getting a backstage pass to a different culture, a glimpse into their humor, their values, their way of life.
It's like learning by osmosis, right? You're not even consciously studying, but you're absorbing all these cultural nuances through exposure and experience.
Exactly. And that cultural awareness can make a huge difference in how you communicate in English. It helps you avoid those awkward misunderstandings, build rapport with neighbor speakers, and express yourself in a way that feels authentic and culturally appropriate.
So it's not just about speaking grammatically correct English, it's about understanding the context and using the language in a way that feels natural and respectful.
Absolutely. And that's why choosing resources that actually align with your interest is so important. If you're passionate about something, whether it's history, science fiction, cooking, whatever, seek out English language content related to that interest.
It's all about finding those points of connection, those things that spark your curiosity and make you want to learn more.
Exactly. And when you're genuinely engaged with the material, learning becomes less about studying and more about exploring, discovering, and even just having fun.
I love that. It's like turning English learning into an adventure, a journey of personal and cultural exploration.
Speaking of journeys, I think it's time to address the elephant in the room. The one question that I think every solo English learner has struggled with at some point.
Ooh, okay, lay it on me. What's this pivotal question?
It's simple, but kind of scary. With all these resources available, where do we even begin? It can feel super overwhelming.
Oh, yeah, bigly. It's like standing at the bottom of a mountain knowing you have to climb it, but feeling totally frozen by how massive it is.
Right, and that's why I think it helps to break things down into smaller steps. First things first, you got to get clear on your why. Why are you learning English? What are your goals? Do you dream of traveling the world and talking to people? Are you aiming for a job that requires English? Or maybe you just want to be able to enjoy English books, movies, and music more fully.
That's such a great point. It's like setting your compass, defining your destination before you start figuring out the route.
Exactly. Once you know why you're doing this, you can start looking for resources that match those goals. If you want to use conversational English for travel, then prioritize things that teach practical phrases. For academic English, focus on resources that improve your reading comprehension, essay writing, or vocabulary specific to your field of study.
It's like having a roadmap for your learning journal. You know where you want to end up, and you can choose the paths that'll take you there. But with so many paths to choose from, how do we know which ones are the right ones for us?
That's where a bit of experimentation comes in. Don't be afraid to try different things, explore different learning styles, and see what clicks. Maybe you start with a popular app like Duolingo or Babbel to get the basics down. Then maybe you branch out to podcasts that cover topics you're interested in.
Those apps can be great for building vocabulary or grammar in a fun way, but I've noticed they don't always focus on the natural flow of conversation or those cultural nuances we were talking about earlier.
You're right, and that's why it's important to add in resources that gives you a more immersive experience, like joining an online community or forum specifically for English learners. Websites like Reddit and Quora have huge communities where you can interact with other learners, ask questions, and even practice your writing.
It's like having a global classroom right at your fingertips, a whole network of support from people going through the same thing.
Exactly. And don't forget about good old-fashioned books. Libraries and bookstores are full of amazing English learning materials, from grammar guides and vocabulary books to graded readers and even classic literature.
Yeah, there's something special about holding a physical book. It's like a tangible reminder of your learning journey.
Totally agree. And don't forget about all the entertainment options out there. Movies, TV shows, music, video games. All these things can help you immerse yourself in the language and culture.
So it's not just about structured learning. It's about finding ways to make English a part of your daily life, weaving it into things you already enjoy doing.
Precisely. The more you surround yourself with the language, the more natural it will become. And that's when the real magic happens, when English stops feeling like a subject you're studying and starts to feel like a tool you can use to connect with the world.
That's such a great way to put it. It's about moving from conscious effort to effortless integration.
And that brings us to another really important part of solo English learning, your mindset. It's not just about the resources you choose, but also the attitude you bring to the whole process.
Okay, I'm listening. What kind of mindset do we need for this solo learning adventure?
Well, first things first, Patience. Learning a language takes time and effort. There will be times when you get frustrated or doubt yourself. It's important to be kind to yourself, celebrate your progress, and remember that every step forward is a win.
It's like running a marathon, right? You can't expect to sprint the whole way. You got to pace yourself, push through those tough moments, and keep your eyes on the finish line.
Exactly. And just like a marathon runner needs to train consistently, a solo English learner needs to make learning a regular habit, even if it's just for 15–20 minutes each day. Those consistent efforts will pay off big time.
It's about making English learning a non-negotiable part of your routine, like brushing your teeth or making your bed.
And just like you wouldn't use a toothbrush you hate, don't force yourself to use learning methods that bore you to tears. Make it fun. Find resources that you're actually excited about, activities that you enjoy, and learning styles that works for you.
So it's about finding that balance between challenge and enjoyment, right? Pushing yourself while still making the whole process feel rewarding.
Exactly. And last but not least, remember that you're not alone in this. There are so many online communities, forums, and resources specifically designed to help solo English learners.
It's like having a global support system cheering you on every step of the way.
Exactly. So don't be afraid to reach out, ask questions, connect with other learners, and share your experiences.
It's amazing how technology has made it so easy to connect with people from all over the world who share this passion for learning English.
And who knows, maybe those connections will lead to new friendships, collaborations, or even opportunities. The power of language goes way beyond just the words themselves. It opens doors to new experiences, perspectives, and relationships.
Such a powerful thought. It's not just about learning a skill, it's about expanding your world and connecting with people from different cultures and backgrounds.
And that, I think, is the true beauty of learning English. It's a journey of self-discovery, cultural exploration, and endless possibilities.
I love that. So we've covered a lot of ground in this second part of our deep dive. We've explored choosing the right resources, the power of cultural immersion, the mindset you need to succeed, and all the amazing resources that can help you on your journey.
And as we move towards the final part of our exploration, I keep thinking about this quote from Nelson Mandela. If you talk to a man in a language he understands, that goes to his head. If you talk to him in his own language, that goes to his heart.
That's beautiful and so relevant to our conversation.
It really highlights how language is about so much more than just words. It's about building bridges, fostering understanding, and connecting with people on a deeper level.
And on that note, I think we're ready to wrap up this part of our deep dive, but don't go anywhere. We'll be back soon with even more insights and inspiration to help you unlock your full potential as a solo English learner.
See you soon.
Okay, so we're back for the final part of our deep dive into solo English learning. And you know that Nelson Mandela quote you shared last time? It's really stuck with me. If you talk to a man in a language he understands, that goes to his head. If you talk to him in his own language, that goes to his heart.
It really does make you think about how much deeper language goes than just the words themselves, right? It's about connecting on a human level, building empathy and understanding across cultures.
Yeah, it makes you realize that learning English isn't just about personal growth, but about contributing to like a more connected and understanding world.
Exactly. And that brings up something I've been thinking about as we've talked about all these strategies and resources.
Oh, what's that?
Well, we've focused a lot on the how of solo English learning, the steps, the tools, the techniques, but I think it's just as important to remember the why. What's the reason you're putting in all this effort? What's driving you to learn English?
That's a good point. It's easy to get caught up in all the details and lose sight of the bigger picture.
Right. And connecting with that why could be a huge motivator, especially when things get tough and you start to doubt yourself.
So how can we tap into that deeper motivation? How do we keep our why front and center throughout this whole learning journey?
I think it starts with being really honest with yourself about your goals and dreams. Like, why is learning English important to you? What are you hoping to achieve? Is it about new job opportunities, traveling the world, or maybe just the simple joy of connecting with people from different backgrounds?
You know what I think one of the most rewarding things about learning English has been the ability to share those skills with others. Like, it's not just about me, it's about how I can use this to connect with more people.
Exactly. It creates this ripple effect. You're learning not just for yourself, but also to connect with a wider circle of people, to share your own story and understand theirs.
And it doesn't have to be these grand gestures or super fluent conversations. Even small things like teaching a friend a new word or helping someone translate something can be really meaningful.
Absolutely. It's about finding those little ways to use your English skills to benefit others. And in doing that, you're not only reinforcing your own learning, but also inspiring other people.
It's like that saying, the best way to learn is to teach. By sharing what we know, we understand it better ourselves.
And who knows, maybe in the process of helping others, we'll even learn something new ourselves. It's all part of the journey.
Exactly. Language learning is all about constantly discovering, growing, and connecting. Even when you reach a certain level of fluency, there's always more to learn and explore.
So true. And as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with one last thought. Remember that this is your journey to create. There's no right or wrong way to learn, as long as you find what works for you and keeps you motivated.
It's about taking charge and making this a truly personal and rewarding experience.
Exactly. So to everyone out there who's on this journey, remember to be kind to yourself, celebrate your progress, and never lose sight of the power and beauty of language.
We've covered so much in this deep dive, and I really hope you're feeling inspired to continue on your path to English fluency.
We're here to support you every step of the way, and we can't wait to hear about your successes.
So until next time, happy learning, everyone.
Happy learning. So